Now, I've got an earpiece in that's giving me information from the control room, telling loads of jokes about Peter, but he can't hear. So if I burst into laughter, it's a joke about him.
Well, I tell you why I just burst into laughter, because guys, I have to be honest, this is an amazing afternoon. I mean, we couldn't have hoped for this to be better.
No way.
And having done this for a while, I just get so happy about this, and I was laughing because I don't have an earpiece. So I'm sort of off the leash, if you know what I mean. Like
you can say anything.
Obviously, don't worry, Graham. But I was just going to ask you a question before you guys get the chance. Please ask questions. We're going to talk about it. But I'm going to jump in ahead because I'm here already. Have you ever either done it or dreamt that you would sit around a campfire in the bush with good friends while there's a leopard lying in the branches behind you? And guys, keep in mind, this guy's been to over 50 countries in the world. He's explored the globe. He's truly a great wilderness traveller, amongst many other fantastic things. But have you ever imagined
Never,
this?
mate. No. That's very kind words. Thank you very much. But I've never in my wildest dreams thought that we'd be able to set this up. And I'm telling you, folks, it's in the dark. It's in the wild. We haven't got a fence around us or anything like that. There's a leopard up the tree there. Pete's been with it all afternoon. Hyena just came through.
He came right. I mean, could you see him?
He just came there. I had to shine the light
here?
at him so he could see some of the team, because he was walking right up to Scott and some of the other guys, and it's just mad. It's absolutely fantastic, and there's an adrenaline pumping through me at the moment. We've been sitting. We had Lion like where your bull bar is right there, and he's just like looking at me with that stare right through me today. And Brian and I are just sitting there for 3 hours with these lions, watching them chow down food and interact, and beautiful. And then to top it off with the dream of a leopard, but not just any leopard, Kanuma. And
the shy one.
Yeah, shy one.
The elusive one.
Shy one.
Yeah.
And he's just propped himself up there on stage. So I can't tell you how incredible
I can
it
just
is.
say something about the leopard, just and what fascinating creatures they are. If we can maybe have a look at it again, I know we've looked at it a lot, but it's not even looking at us. If we look up there, it's just taking a nap.
Yeah.
It's listening for the hyena. Now I was talking about earlier, just driving in H. We've talked about it a few times. About this whole thing that we are all part of one environment. We are not separate from everything as humans. We don't have to separate ourselves. We are as much part of this as the tree trunk we're sitting on, and the leopard in the tree, and the hyenas. There he's looking again. But
that is just incredible.
We could have had the best script writers in the world write this.
No way in the world could you do this.
That's the beauty of life.
This has got to be one of those things that we will talk about this forever.
Forever. See, there's a game drive vehicle in the back. They want to have a look at it as well. And a big thing for me has always been to sit around a fire. I love fire. Since I was a little boy, I've been lucky enough to go camping and into wilderness areas with my father, and I've always loved fires. And it's something we quickly got to know when we came down here, is that we both like fires to the point where you really spend time around them on many levels. So not just make a fire and off you go to cook food, but it's an emotional experience. And we've talked about this a few times, about people having sat around fires for millennia. The first thinkers were sitting around the fire.
Absolutely.
So it is a huge honor and privilege to sit here.
Oh yeah,
with the leopards climbed down the tree. Thank you. Who was there in the back? Scott. Scott played a big role in finding the leopard today.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's just have hats off to Scott, because Scott, you've met Scott several drives in the morning, people that have been watching online, and Scott's an amazing guy, and he's done a lot of work on that leopard today, so that leopard's for him, big time. But we've got a question coming through, mate. Okay, that's a great question. And who is the question from? Fantastic. We've got a great question from Julie in California, mate, and it's an excellent one
Julie.
to open up the can of worms. Hello, Julie. Julie has just watched television, the television program for the first time, and now she's watching it online for the first time, so she sounds like she's enjoying it. She wants to know a little bit about our backgrounds, which is a really nice question and a great way to start.
Yes. Hello, Julie, and glad you can join us for the rest of it, because it has been unbelievably unpredictable. And just to give you an update, the leopard's walking off. We can't see it from where we are now. There are game drives with it, so there's no danger here other than just maybe getting overexcited because of all the things going on. Maybe you start, Hayden. You've been around a little bit longer than I have been.
Nice. Yeah, I got it too. I got it. There's a little bit of a dig in there, but it's all right. I'll let that one pass. I am a little bit older than Pete, but I tell you what, not in only in age, not in mind. That's for sure. We've both got very similar philosophies on life. I'll try and keep it brief. It's a bit of a tricky one on that, but I started living in a very early in my early years in a suburban area of Sydney with a great family, and my father was very supportive of my love and my passion of animals, and he bought me these 4 little baby chickens, and I'll never forget that. And those little baby chickens are probably, I blame my existence here sitting in front of this leopard and those lions today on the humble chicken.
What colour were they? What colour?
There was 2 black and 2 yellow, but would be white in the end. So these little chickens I reared, and I found this fascination of caring for animals. So that carried on and continued through my life. And all I ever wanted to do, or firstly I started to watch television, and I started to watch documentaries. And there was a couple of different TV presenters that I was absolutely obsessed with, and one was Sir David Attenborough, which is completely understandable. But then there was this other guy in America called Marlon Perkins, and he was the presenter on this thing called Wild Kingdom. And I was glued to that television every
This
single...
is you now, what age about?
5 to 7 sort of years of age. And every single Saturday night I would be glued to that show. And, you know, there used to be those cracking shots of him standing in front of Kilimanjaro in a safari suit and stuff like that with his big white tash. And
Perkins.
Marlon Perkins,
I remember
and he was an amazing guy, and he really inspired me. And then from then on, all I ever wanted to do was work at a zoo, so I could get really close to those.
Just quickly, are you listening to the radio there?
No, I'm just listening to a question. But
I just have to draw something there, guys, and I'm sorry for interrupting. This is what people do when you talk around the fire. You discuss things and you talk about things.
Totally.
I just had a really nice thought there now. We both have families. I've got 2 little kids. My boy is about 8 weeks old almost today. My girl is 3, and Hayden's got a son of 8, Jack, who I've spoken to a number of times. And I just want to highlight to you that what you saw back then that made you do this we are now, and everything in between. Yeah. You're about Jack's age.
Yeah.
And that was just great for me to think of Jack watching this as well.
Yeah.
With everyone else, guys, but this is what's so brilliant, sharing the space with people around you.
Very true, mate. And it's a really nice... the interjection is absolutely important because I think that's exactly what the campfire is about. My boy, hopefully my boy and Pete's little girl and boy are watching as well as Leishan and Nina, our wives, which are incredibly supportive of what we do. So big hi to them if they're watching. So I'll fast forward a little bit too for you, but thank you, mate. That's very kind words. Fast forward to the zoo.
And the last kind word before I stop interrupting is right now many of you are falling in love with Africa. And this idea of what we're doing.
Yeah.
And much more so because it's happening as we speak.
Absolutely.
And I'll be quiet until you finish.
Don't be silly, mate. You don't have to... the control room just said, can you now tell us about your history, please? Don't be silly. It's completely fine. I'm going to do it to him as well. So I then wanted to work at the zoo, and there's a beautiful big zoo in Sydney, Australia called Taronga Zoo, and I went for a job there after I'd done a little bit of horticulture study, and then I was successful at this position. And I couldn't believe it because I'd never been for a job interview in my life. And I got the job, and I was working with African mammals. My dream job came true. I was a zookeeper, and that's all I wanted to do for the rest of my life. But in the back of my mind, doing what I'm doing right now, sitting here, talking to you, telling stories, sharing experiences through the medium of the internet or television is the ultimate job, isn't it, for us? It's like you're sharing, like there's nothing worse than being out in the bush and seeing this incredible encounter and having no one to share it with. It's one for you. I say it's one for you. But when we can share it with loads of people, it makes it even more special. So I had this dream that wouldn't it be great to do a little bit of telly, but I didn't think that was possible at all. Then I'd resigned from the zoo. I'd been back and forth from Africa.
You're now in your sort of early 20s, huh?
I was in my late 20s, mid to late 20s. So I sort of decided that I'd been to Africa a few times. I'd been to Zimbabwe working on a black rhinoceros program for the zoo and a few other things. And then I decided that was it. I was going to resign from the zoo and move to Zimbabwe and move to Africa without another plan.
Awesome animals, black rhino.
Absolutely.
I mean, that in itself is a whole conversation.
You know,
I'm just grabbing some water. I'll be
You
right
go
back.
for your life, mate. And on my last week or 2 weeks, I got this call from the public relations department. It was this great friend of mine that still is a friend, great friend, Polly, and she gave me a call and said, can I bring these people up to the giraffe exhibit and you can give them a bit of a behind-the-scenes tour, special people, didn't know who they were, said of course to her, she was a great person, and it just happened to be 4 National Geographic executives. Now that radio call that I got from Polly changed my life. If I didn't take that radio call, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have been to all the countries I've been to. I wouldn't have worked for National Geographic Channel before. I wouldn't have done any of what I've done, just probably something different. So that radio call was a big change in my life. And then I moved to Africa. I did short stories for Nat Geo, 5-minute stories, where I was holding the camera like this out, walking around going, hi folks, come with me. Really bad, really poor quality, didn't know what I was doing. Thank goodness for the editors to turn it into something. And they made little 5-minute stories. And then from then on, it just progressed. And I've been very, very fortunate to meet people like Brian and Scott and VM and Jason and Alex and Graham and Alex and Will in the control room. These guys that I work with that I'm probably going to stay in touch with all my life. Yeah, he's all right. I'll probably know him too.
Yeah,
for a
we'll
bit.
see.
But yeah, him as well. Like, we're going to be mates forever. So this is the sort of stuff that we just try and get through that lens to you and tell you how magical this place is, but how magical it is doing with these people. So hopefully that's coming across a bit. That's a little bit about me. There's loads more, but I can bore you to tears.
Okay, we've got about 20 seconds left. I just love fire, so I just sit around the fires and see what happens. I'm going to just, and I'll try and keep mine shortish. But the first thought that comes to mind when I want to tell you about, what exactly was the question again? Like, how did I end up being here?
A little bit about your background.
Hayden, quick question. What's your first memory of Africa?
Getting off the plane in Zimbabwe and smelling Africa. Sounds cheesy, I know.
Not at all, eh?
But
Smell is a very
smell
powerful
and walking
sense.
across the airstrip. I'd never walked across an airstrip before.
That's your first memory of Africa. My first memory of Africa, which is, that memory alone I can tell you about for a very long time, but it's a memory that's been grown together from actual memory as well as from my father telling me part of the story. And it's got to do with the fire. It's got to do with an area you know very well, Bushman land, or Kodam specifically. It's an area of north eastern Namibia. Very, very wild still. Hayden's done some amazing and interesting things with Bushmen there as well, traveling with them. And my first memory of Africa, which then spanned into a long thread to this moment, is of waking up under almost full moon. It was 2 days before a gibbous moon, roughly. So it was just before the full moon. And waking up somewhere in the night from a little dog that was sitting there going, looking down at a pan. Now, in this area, you know the area, Kodam, Tumkwe, you've got this flat grassland areas, and you've got these pans of water. And this dog was looking at something, in the moonlight. And there were 2 lionesses. Now, the memory to go back, we were still living in Rundu, so I was about 4 years old, a little bit less. Young enough that I can't remember clearly, but I can remember images of this, and then having shared the story with my father over the years, I've built it back into a solid memory. And we were camping with a guy called Ken Rotenbach. He was one of the conservation guys in the area. And we were sleeping up against the F-254, those massive vehicles.
Beautiful.
And on that trip we had so many punctures, and that's what father told me afterwards, that we had to fix it with fire. We didn't have patches left anymore. We had to burn patches with a can and then melt those onto tires to keep going. So it was a true African expedition. And I was 4. My father even had to, my mother had to sort of give special permission for me to go along. And the memory is just under the stars with the moon and this little dog waking me up and seeing these 2 lionesses there. And from my father's side, the story is told, we stepped with our heads right up against the ford with our feet towards the fire and not far from the pan. And we knew there were lions in the area from tracks I'd seen earlier. Now, I can't remember this. I was tiny. And my father's memory is waking up by me, his little boy, going, Papa, that's news. Saying, Father, Daddy, there's lions.
Fantastic.
And that's how they woke up. And that's my first memory
Fantastic.
of being me. So from that, that's a very special story between my dad. It's grown. I've been fortunate to live in Sabi Sands when I was 18. Again, something to do with my father. He was doing medical work for all the lodges in the area. I grew up in Namibia exploring wild areas. And along the line, I ended up in Sabi Sands, then in Pilanesberg, guided, loved it, loved the photography, loved the wild places, and then met Graham Wallington, sort of along the line with what he was doing in the late 90s. Ended up at Juma, the Moorman's fantastic family, and I think I have to cut the story short because we'll talk about it more another time. But essentially, from that first memory, the wild places and the wilderness of Africa have always fascinated me, have always felt me like I was part of something so much bigger than myself, and so beautiful and so powerful. And to have ended up in this 8 years ago first, now again after 5 years moving back to Namibia and starting our family, has been, I will say this often, it's a massive privilege, it's a massive honor, and it is something that I'm so happy to be part of, because I think what we're doing right now, inspiring hopefully many of you about wild places, is something that I could only have dreamt about. And I have to just quickly add, you've got a cap that you're wearing at the moment, I brought it along. Dr. Brady Barr, part of National Geographic. We did a lot of stuff in Pilanesberg with game capture and lions. We caught a lot of lions with Gus van Dijk. And Brady Barr came out there once for a while, for a few days. And I was just always, when I could remember, I wanted to be that guy doing that, you know.
Yeah.
And he was a fantastic guy, still is. And at the end of it, we caught lions. They ate 2 of the cameras. You know that commercial in Nigeria where they go, you know, they bring it back and the shark bit into it and things. 2 of the cameras actually got eaten by the lions during this one capture, cameras that we put out before. And at the end of all of it, he gave me his cap and he said, here's a hat for you. And I've kept that cap.
I've been wearing it.
Yeah. So all these things and about, 50 fires more of talking is why I love being in Africa.
Absolutely, mate. Beautiful stuff.
That's a long answer question.
It is, but it's a great one to
easy
start
one next
with.
to like 4 + 5. Something like that, you know.
What, Control, I've just got Control in my ear. Can you just remind me of the lady's name that just asked the last question, please? Okay, fantastic. This is a great one, and you're going to love this, mate, as much as me. This is for both of us. Now, Mrs. Ford in Tulsa. Tulsa's Arizona, right? Tulsa, I think.
Tulsa, Arizona sounds right.
Sounds right, I think so. Tulsa, excuse my geography there. Mrs. Ford, anyway, has just said, and this is amazing, this story, this is beautiful to hear, she has created one of her sort of components in her teaching at the moment, all related to Safari Live. So she's got spelling tests, she's teaching the whole class through Safari Live as a medium to do all their branch out little sections on it. So they've got spelling, they've got all the words, Safari related words, and tell you what, science, biology, everything that they're doing.
That's amazing, and this is something we can go on the whole evening about, because we're both very passionate about young people
Hats off to you.
But I'm going to do a quick spelling thing. I'm going to tell you, for A and B, that I've got audio of a buffalo that's calling over there, because don't know why.
Okay.
For D. But no, really, sorry, not to interrupt, but there was a buffalo calling in the distance. Now keep in mind, that's the herd that only one night ago those lions caught one from that you saw
Absolutely.
But to come back to to Tulsa and...
Yeah. Well, I've forgotten the lady's name now. Give me one more time. I've gone on to Buffalo.
Sorry.
Mrs. Ford. How can we forget Mrs. Ford? Mrs. Ford, I have to take my hat off to you. I teach education in the United Kingdom to young people, and when you can do it outside the classroom and you can do it with using the environment and putting kids into outdoor learning or utilising anything from the environment and habitats, boy, you are potentially changing the trajectory of their whole life. And you won't know that until later on, but that sort of thing is like what Pete and I love. Absolutely.
You just started your story with that.
Yeah.
How your life was changed by experiencing something like that.
Hats off to Mrs. Ford.
That's awesome. Really. It's awesome.
Absolutely
and
brilliant.
to many teachers, we've had a number of teachers ask about this. That's really, really amazing. And getting the schools into that would be a first great step. You know, young people, it's one of the things we are all passionate about, is more young people should get into wilderness and into wildlife and into passion for these beautiful natural areas that we still have. And I know with what you do, a lot of the work you do is exactly that.
Yeah.
So not to go on about it too much for now, but we need to talk about this as Drive goes on, is to get lots of people together, and where better to start than with all just people to the 6th degree or separation by 6 degrees. I love that concept.
Look,
and it's getting less and less.
Absolutely.
You know,
I mean, to any educators that are out there, any teachers, any teaching assistants, all you incredibly hard-working educational people that are out there, if you can get your class together and get to a live stream of some description and get some questions to us, we will definitely try and get to answering them for you. And you know what, it can be the simplest of questions, but if your class is back, get goosebumps, that's for sure. It's the most fantastic thing. We've got a question from Chris on Twitter. And Pete, you can answer this one. I'm sure you've got a few of these up your sleeve, buddy.
Yeah.
What's the strangest thing that's ever happened to you on Drive? Not that one.
the strangest thing that ever happened, going on thousands of people from around the world, seeing amazing leopard, stalking, beautiful visuals in the light. Then it climbs a tree just meters away from a fire where a good friend and friends are sitting, talking to the same people.
Yeah.
And then coming to sit down at the fire and talk about it. So, Chris, that's a great answer and a great question with the easy answer, because that truly is. You know, I could like this before we put a door on the one side. And leopard's tails, I've learned over time, is not just coincidence. She walked right past and her tail did this, and it just brushed against my leg and she walked off. So those are other ones I could highlight. But this, if I have to be very, very honest.
Absolutely. No, I think
tonight
that was something that I'll never forget. Absolutely incredible. You couldn't.
No, how?
You wouldn't have. You'd have £1 million budget on a movie, and you couldn't have worked that. That is a wild leopard, an absolutely wild leopard up in the tree behind us tonight. Folks, and I tell you what, that is going to be a story I dine out on for a long time. Absolutely.
For you?
For me, that's probably the most unusual thing that's happened to me. No, seriously. I don't say it's the most unusual thing, but I had a pretty incredible encounter with this matriarch elephant the other day that really touched my heart. So that was just a lovely thing. I'd have to really sit down and think about that, Chris, about unusual stuff. There's loads of stuff that's happened in the past, but I don't really want to talk about the past. I'm sorry. And over the last few days have really touched my soul. They're one of my favourite creatures on the planet, and the animals here are so habituated, so conditioned to humans. You actually can go that next step where you can't go on a lot of other places. You can trust these animals a lot more. Their behaviour is actually they don't have a lot of history of
call. It's been calling the whole evening. Sorry, can I talk while you listen?
That's all right. You can talk.
No, I don't want to interrupt while you're listening. But
I've finished listening, but you carry on.
And just the scops owl was calling when you saw the leopard. We talked about the scops owl the other night. It's a tiny little owl. We've seen it.
Yeah.
That bird we saw.
That big.
We bumped into it one day while looking for this place. And I'll call every now and again. I mean, it might be a bit much going on here, but you can get them sometimes to come and sit right here.
Absolutely.
There's that beautiful call. You can probably hear it from that side, the distant one. It sounds like that every night.
Right. I'm going to have to remember this now. Elaine from Pennsylvania. I got that bit. Hi, Elaine. Fantastic to have you watching. 31st of July, 1999. What does that make everyone think about?
31st of July, 1999. I've got something that comes to mind, but I don't think that's it.
What do you think?
the first live picture from Juma.
That's what you just said.
Yeah.
Well, and she's watching right now.
Well,
Elaine, the biggest hello to you, and thank you very, very much for that beautiful comment. And Pete, just shows that he hasn't hit my age yet, because
I don't remember the exact date, but that was the, you know, firstly, hello Elaine. I mean, Elaine's been part of this for as long as this has been part of Elaine and the world. I did think about that earlier. I think about it a lot at the moment. Graham Wallington had a big role to play in
she sat in the final control room in 1999. Oh, geez, again.
A little bit more.
There's a shout out coming.
It's just water.
Give me the names again, please. Tony in Ireland. Ah, what a beautiful part of the world that is, Tony. I've got family there. My wife and I have got family there. We love Ireland. And you're sitting in your living room watching us tonight, and Tony's sitting there with his little niece, Kira.
Kira, beautiful
So you
name.
and I have to say, isn't it a beautiful name? We have to say hi to Kira.
Hello, Kira.
Really beautiful to have you watching, darling, and really great that you are up. What time is it in Ireland?
Kira,
oh yeah, it's only 6 o'clock at night in Ireland. That's fantastic.
No.
I'm just hearing from Final Control. I think, was it 6? Final Control.
Awesome.
Yeah. We don't have an age. Don't have an age. But Kira is sitting there with Tony, her uncle, watching us live in Ireland. Ciara. That's a beautiful name. Beautiful name. Hello there, and welcome from South Africa.
From all of us,
you.
yeah. From Juma, from in the bush.
How beautiful.
From Kunyuma the leopard, because I know that kids speak to animals easier than adults.
Absolutely. I wish I could pull you through the lens right now. Silence. That's also good around a fire.
Oh, silence is the best time around fire. There's a lot of time when you do this, you look into the fire.
Really nice. Really nice.
Think, and it's amazing what you think about when you look into the fire.
There's a bit of an old sort of, or not old, but there's a sort of scientific philosophy around by a wonderful man that I met once in my life by the name of Dr. Richard Wrangham, and he's a pretty...
What a name.
Yeah, he's a
Wrangham.
very... this research done on fire, and he believes that this is probably one of the essences of life, that and language. There's no two things that people don't travel with, in the sense that you can't survive without it. There's no, and there's probably a lot more to it than what I'm explaining, but there's no community found on the planet that doesn't have fire and language. So those two things, fire and language, exactly what we're doing right now, have been connected so much over time, as Pete started with, you know. They've been carried through the darkest and wettest rainforests and taken to like the polar regions to survive on. So there's something very special about this, and for us to sit around this chat, isn't it, mate?
And where it's taken us. I mean, it's for me the most beautiful part about fire is being around a fire. I love it when there's a circle around it. I love it when people sit around it. And there's the ancientness about it, you know, people.
Yeah.
And then as time went on and they understood fire a bit, and you could sit around it and think around it, talk around it. I mean, histories have been passed on. Cultures have grown around fires, where people tell the next generation and the next generation, where they sit there with Kira and Sydney and Jack and all the kids. Any one of you younger than 85 at the moment watching, all the kids, you know, over 85, then you become the storyteller. You have to share the stories. But younger than 85, you listen. All the young people sitting around the fire and all the old people sharing culture, and that's a big part. I love that part about fire. But if you take it, you know, right ahead to where we are right at this moment, Kira, and for those of you that maybe think of fire as a separate thing from life, fire is everywhere. I mean, the plane we flew on, the vehicles we drive in, the energy we use to do this with, it all, some stage or another, comes back to fire, to energy, to harnessing energy and utilizing it. So, it would be a different place. Well, actually, it wouldn't be here. The sun is on fire, so luckily, otherwise we'd be a bit cold tomorrow.
I've got a question from Stephanie, mate, about fire. And Stephanie's asked us a question. Hi, Stephanie, how are you? And thank you very much. Fire, if we use the fire, would the fire keep us safe from animals, type of thing?
Well, yes, it would if it got to that. I mean, you go with this if you want.
Well, Stephanie's just stumbled upon us on television, so she was probably doing a little bit of channel surfing. Stephanie, I do it all the time too, mate. I totally understand. And she stumbled across us, so how wonderful is she still watching online? I think there's a definite connection with, and she's got a second half to her question, which I'll get to now. I think there's a definite historical, primitive, protective thing about fire with animals and things like that, definitely. There was a certain comfort and certain safety and security because it also was probably one of the only things that gave light. Before any modern light or form of lighting was around.
Big time, it dispelled the darkness.
Yeah.
So
people could sit around here in safety and sit. We're diurnal primates.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was going to say, it's almost like there's the emotional and psychological safety that provides this in your mind. By sitting here, you feel more comfortable. If we were sitting here in the dark, we'd feel less comfortable.
Yeah.
So there is the actual... See, I just suddenly thought about time. I'd forgotten about time.
Yeah, me as well.
Yes, it does. But,
We've got 1.5 minutes,
you could do so just by making a big noise as well. But fire gives you a lot of emotionals.
Yeah.
I'm going to be quiet.
No, not at all. Don't be quiet, mate. It's not at all. We've only got one earpiece, and we've got 1.5 minutes. The other half of your question was, do we have any women on the team? And the woman that's on the team, I think the most important is one woman, Emily, and she's a woman, and she's the woman on the team. Not for any other reason. And we did have a fantastic editor here as well, Ashley, but she's gone home now. So there's a couple of women on the team, definitely. We've got about 1 minute, mate. Finish it off. And Zanelli, our chef. Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about Zanelli another time. We've got one more Fireside Chat right at the end of this. Maybe we sneak another one in. If you guys ask, we might do another Fireside Chat in the middle. Who knows? Because it is great. Happy. And VM, Scott at the fire, all the guys back in control. It's been awesome.
Absolutely fantastic to have you with us, guys. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning. The most important thing about this is that...
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
See you guys.
Cheers, guys. That was awesome.
Start and end your day on safari.